Hey everyone, welcome back to the Super IO Bros podcast. I'm Carlos, joined by my co hosts John and Yusuf. And today we're getting real about something every IO student can relate to. What is that, you might say? Well, the things you don't learn until you're already too deep in the IO program. We're talking about mindset shifts. We're talking about the people side, the lessons that hit way harder once you start seeing the world through an IO lens. So if you're thinking about joining an IO program, just started, or you're halfway through wondering what you signed up for, this is the episode for you. All right, let's get into it. The first question is, what are three things you wish you knew before you started the IO program?
So for me, it's that before going into it, I had this expectation that there was already a pre planned path and that upon graduating, there was something already planned, kind of like a nurse. Like a nurse at the end of it, you already know that he's going to become a nurse. So that's kind of what I already expected. But IO psychology is a lot more broad, there's a lot more nuance behind it.
Yeah, it's like you're going into the same environment. Like as a nurse, you go into a hospital. It doesn't matter like what floor you're on, you're gonna be in the hospital. But like
Exactly.
in the IO, there ain't really like a hospital. Is it very many facets?
Yeah, there's so many different
Yeah.
fields and aspects behind it.
I definitely relate to that. I mean, there's just like you mentioned so much nuance, and you don't really know. I felt the same thing. Like when you said in the intro, like you don't know what you got yourself into halfway through the program. I was like, where am I going to go with this?
Mhm.
Because one, you're at the point, you're deep into the program already. To where at the point where it's like, I know I want to do this, but I don't know where I'm going, and I'm getting a little nervous because like it's almost there. It was only a year and a half program, and you need to kind of lock in and figure it out where it is that you're going to be going. But getting there is a little bit difficult and it's a little bit scary. And I don't know about you guys, I felt a lot of pressure. Like when it was getting close to like internship time, I didn't think I was going to get an internship. I didn't know what I wanted to do for my internship. I know I wanted to do something in the consulting side, but I didn't know how to get there.
Yeah, it kind of just goes back to what Yusuf was saying is it's not black and white.
It's not nothing
It
set in stone.
there's not just an industry you're like, ah, this is something I get into. But you go into any industry, you go into like the cruise. So it's like you almost per se, I think IO is more not in the traditional sense, whereas like you can be a nurse, you go into a hospital
Mhm.
or you go into a private practice.
Like
Nurse,
trade, yeah.
yeah, private practice or maybe clinical.
Right.
But like there's like only like three windows you could go into, but like in this sense in IO, it's more like targeted like what specialty do you want to do. But in terms of the industry, you could be in the cruise industry, you could be in the financial industry, you could be human capital, you could be doing all sorts of different things
Mhm.
in all different types of industry because it's just such a versatile field. It almost kind of gives you more of a where am I going? Because there's just so much to take into, so many opportunities you could go.
Yeah.
It's like hard to just focus in on just one sometimes.
Yeah. It's like the life of Pi. You're stuck in the ocean on a little dinghy and you don't know where the hell you're going. You're
Yeah.
just, you got no, your motor's like, you're going to go as far as you can go with it. But figuring out where you want to go, figuring out like what avenue is just, it's overwhelming, really.
And
Because,
every direction has an angle,
yeah,
but it's just like maybe that direction might be further along, but you don't know because you can't
you
see.
can't see it. Yeah.
You're just in the middle of the ocean.
And it literally just is how far you can take it. Because, like, Rodriguez and Professor Reeves can give you some semblance of like guidance, but still, like, they can't exactly one to one tell you how to get there because it's so vague. Even they can't explain it to you because it's just so vague. There's just so much nuance behind it. It's a lot of like what Rodriguez would always tell us. It depends. It really just all comes back to it depends. Our life motto.
Put it on a shirt.
Yeah, put that on a shirt. Put that on the
Put
t-shirt.
that on a t-shirt. Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes to my next point, which is you don't learn everything in the classroom.
Mhm.
You learn a lot of things once you navigate through life, or like you navigate through the course, or you navigate through your internships or your jobs afterwards. Like there's a lot of theory that you learn, at least in our internship, and there's a lot of ways to put it into practice. But it's like when you are implementing it and you're putting it into practice, that's when you start developing your IO lens. And that's where you kind of figure out like
Your niche.
And like some shortcuts. It's like how do you make this faster? How do you tailor this better? You know, because if you go through all the operations for every single project you do, it might take you days to do maybe like a certain project, but like if you just focus on the tailored points that maybe a client is looking for, which is something I learned in my internship, it could really minimize the amount of work you're doing, but just increase the quality of it. You know. All right, by IO lens, I'm talking about more of a real world behavior. You know, instead of a textbook definition. You know, because IO, yes, there is a lot of theories behind it, or ways to implement their theories and stuff, but when you have an IO lens, it's just like, how do you see the world? You know, it's just like you see the world, you intake, you adapt to the world, and you kind of just understand what are these behaviors that the world has and how to go through it, how to navigate it, which, you know, it's kind of like when you're going through your programs and you're doing these case studies, it's more of a, it just kind of hits you. You're like, okay, I remember the case study. Let's transition what I learned and let's implement it into real world scenarios. Now that I am in the real world scenario, you know, and it's about finding that research to life balance. I would say like that life experience with research balance. I think is a very important thing because as we went through the program, and me and you talked about many times that it's like a lot of it in a sense is like common sense. It's like, yeah, there's the theories, how to apply them and what the theories are, how to make effectiveness of certain situations, but it's also like it takes some sort of common sense or common knowledge of your own self. I guess it's like a mindset.
Yeah. It's that lens.
To choose which theory to use, to develop, you know, to magnify, which is where the IO lens comes in. You kind of like you pick it and you're able to see the path forward. You know, and I think that's it for my point.
Yeah, it's funny. I think when we looked at each other there, we both had the same idea because I was going to say the same thing too. That common sense, and I had this. I remember us having all those conversations, and we were just going back and forth. Like, you know, it's hard for certain people to have that lens. They don't. They can't conceptualize putting, you know, the theory to practice, and it's definitely something that I wouldn't even say it's common sense. It's really just like you mentioned, the lens. It's something that you either.
It's just how much of what you're learning are you thinking about it in real world scenarios?
You're not conceptual. Sometimes you don't conceptualize it. People can't put it in practice.
You can explain it. You can be someone that can perfectly explain everything that's
regurgitation of just information. It's applying it because there's a lot. It gets sticky in the real world. It gets sticky. I guess that's where that common sense comes from.
It is
how you function in that.
Able to adapt it towards what, because it's not an end all fix all. You always gotta tweak it. You always gotta make it fix for certain situations. But you know, it's like you were saying, just tailor it.
So what I wish I knew going into the program was how imperative networking will be to your success in the field. I don't know if you guys ever, you know, I ever came across that way to you guys, but I was really shy. I think I came across that way to you guys. Probably.
I didn't realize.
You didn't realize when I got red during the first presentation, like a tomato?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You kept scratching your neck.
Yeah, I was nervous. I think I almost died.
Yeah.
But To me now it's easier because of the program and because of just, I guess, life in general. But networking to me, when I say networking, I don't mean just like going to socials and talking to chatting people up, trying to build a social network. I kind of just mean communication, conveying my ideas, being able to have conversation about like these technical theories that we have and putting things to practice with people. Like all of that is what I like view as networking. And I didn't realize how big of a part of IO networking is, because it really is about the people you know. And once you get to like some of these like positions, like when you're in the interviewing phase, like you need to kill it. And if you're it's not like what you mentioned. Like if you get a nursing degree, I'm a nurse, I can do the job. You see my degree,
Yeah.
I can do the job. But I get my IO degree, they're like, some people don't even know what it is. Other people have a misconception of what it might be. I have to now convey that message to you, and I have to do it in a way that, one, I come across as like knowledgeable, likable, and somebody who can do the job. And that's a little bit difficult to do for somebody like me when I came in, that I choked up giving a presentation that was just for a grade. Like when I got a job writing on it, I didn't know. And I feel like a lot about advancing in your career depends on networking, because it's really just as far as you're willing to push yourself. Go out there, you know, mm, do projects, make yourself be known, suggestions and everything. It's just, that's what I view networking as. And it's just it's like, I'd say more than half the game. But I
I
don't know
would
how you guys feel
I
about it.
would say, yeah, networking is definitely not an optional thing.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of getting into the IO field, I would suggest, and you don't want to do networking, I would suggest maybe you think a little bit more about entering the field. I don't think it's a very optional thing. I think it's, if anything, it's more like it's a psychological intervention at this point, because it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's not just trying to network to get a job, maybe it's you had an idea or you learned something and you kind of want to understand it a little bit better. How is it in the field? It's like when we went to SciOp, you would meet great people that are doing great things and in fields that you never even would think of. Like we met somebody that they were working with the referees from the NBA.
Yeah.
We never even thought that that would be like a thing. It's
And remember, I didn't go up to talk to him.
no, you didn't. I told you you'd do it, but
Yeah, couldn't come up with something at the time.
you learn from amazing people every day,
And
and
ready.
yes, and it's not just about jobs; it's about learning, and I think that's the biggest thing to take away about networking.
Mhm.
It's about being able to receive and listen and just implement the knowledge you learn, experiential learning just from listening. And I think it's the most amazing thing of networking because you get to learn how these things are being applied. And even when you listen to somebody and they see that you really care and you're really listening, maybe they'll even ask, like, what are you doing? Like if you're a student, you're at social, and they ask like, "Oh, what are you up to? Like, what kind of projects are you working on?" They know you're not in the field necessarily yet. You are learning to get a job in the field, but they will take an interest in your projects, and then they look at it, and then they'll might even give you
Give you
feedback.
feedback. Yeah.
I've gotten people in the field that when we were in our program, they asked me like, "Oh, let me see what project you're working on." And it's like, "Oh, I really like this." For me, when I do this, I like to kind of form it like this, and I like to think about this when I'm doing it. It's like, for example, I was doing a selection process, and it never occurred to me in an interview selection process to put, like, this is my first one, to put a rubric at the bottom and like a standardized rubric for like I guess the company that would be using it, but it was for school, so nobody would be using it. And then I talked to somebody about it, and they said like, yeah, I like to do these ratings for them and do suggestive rating scale, not just put the rating numbers, maybe bars scale, like the behavioral anchored response scale. Not just put that, but also put like a suggested like what would be adequate. Like what are these scores mean to somebody that's just measuring up, and then even if they don't use the scale, the company would look at it and be like, okay, well, we kind of know the scaling that he's going for. Maybe we can tweak it to like whatever numbers we want to, but it takes away the hassle of the company doing it. It's like something to think about, because it's not only is it good for the company in terms of like, okay, well, he's kind of suggesting this stuff, and it allows us just to tweak our little things here and there, and it gives us more of a guideline of who we want to get and like what a passing person should look like. But also like it helps you just better explore your knowledge and like understand like what are the criteria you're saying to somebody in the interview process, like because you can just write the criterias and then make up a score, and then that's it, you leave it. But if you make like a suggested rating scale, it's kind of like you are the person grading them. You kind of take accountability onto yourself, and you're like, okay, this is what I would look for. Even if you don't know anything about the position, you learn about it obviously through a job analysis and all those nuances, but like you go through it and then you kind of like undertake it, adopt it.
Yeah, and you would have never gotten that if you never put yourself out there.
No.
Like, showed interest in somebody else and just in the field, and people can pick up on that and they read it, and it helps.
Yeah, it helps bounce like ideas back and forth, something you might never have thought of, like you were saying about the interview structure. You get that through networking.
Yeah, because you've never lived it, and they have.
True.
You get that actionable feedback, and you can directly implement it. I think I know exactly who you're talking about. And was it from the Halloween one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
spooky Halloween. But yeah, it's a great way to meet people and even like just explore like
Just learn.
what's going on in the
Even
field.
if you get nothing from them,
Yeah,
you don't even need to like learn. But
nothing. You don't have to.
Exactly.
You can just have a very nice conversation about somebody in your field, and maybe they'll just tell you like, oh yeah, by the way, I do this. So you can learn kind of. You still learn,
Yeah.
even if it's not like something in the field you want to learn. There's never information that's bad information.
Yeah.
I always say. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Two.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on to the next question. The most valuable skills and experiences we took from the program. So let's start this off with Yusuf.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
So I feel that the most valuable skill that I've gained from the program has got to be the public speaking, having more confidence when you're talking to others. Because you guys know me at the start. He says she was shy, but I was at another level of shyness. But essentially, just throughout the program, just constantly practicing presentations, teaming up with other people for projects and stuff like that would help me build myself up. And especially with the experience we had at PSYOP, I think most people would probably think that that's probably the best experience they've had at that program. For me, it was my first conference. I think most of us.
Yeah.
It was also our first conference. And there same thing like John was saying about networking. We were talking with other people, seeing what's out there, getting to know people. And yeah, it's kind of.
I'll stop you before you go into yours, because seems me and Yusuf have very similar answers. Yeah, I would say that mine is pretty much exactly the same thing. Public speaking for sure, but I like to couple it with self-efficacy. So you touched a lot on the public speaking part, so I think I'll go into the self-efficacy part. I think going into the program, I mean, even getting into the program, I don't know about you guys, but I thought I wasn't going to get accepted. I was nervous as hell.
Same.
I was like, no way. I got my score back. I'm like,
that video interview?
No, I was it was the score. It was the GRE. I was like, there's no way. I did average, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I think Rodriguez has mentioned it to me before. I think you guys can probably attest to it too. The person I was in the beginning of the program is most definitely not the person I was when I left the program. I think you guys would probably say the same for yourself.
Yeah.
And the person I was when I left the program is not the person that I am now. And a lot of that definitely boils down to self-efficacy and the way that Rodriguez set up the program to kind of prop us up as both individuals and professionals. Because one, I feel like the program definitely helped me find myself and my style and what it is that I'm good at, right? Through the feedback, through the projects, through networking, you kind of figure out what it is that one you want to do and how you want to go about it. So that kind of in and of itself builds that self-efficacy just through the practice of doing. And then two, I forgot the first part. But yeah, pretty much just the whole all the repetitions that we got in building our self efficacy is just it was everything to me. I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for Rodriguez giving us countless feedback. Even though sometimes the feedback,
The
might
countless
not,
presentations.
yeah, it might not even be like in-depth feedback. Just reassurance in knowing that what you're doing is right is good enough sometimes. Knowing that like because I would give very hyper specific examples and things like that. And he wouldn't have to go and be like, oh, this is great, blah, 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 or this and that. Just his approval shows that like my uniqueness or like my view of it, of like the way that I'm conceptualizing these ideas is good and it's valid. And somebody is going to be able to grab, somebody's going to be able to understand what it is that I'm speaking to them.
Yeah,
'Cause that-
somebody not in the field. Yeah,
Exactly.
which is
And that's the biggest part of it. So it gave me confidence that even though sometimes I feel like I view things differently, it's still valid. Somebody's still going to be able to understand it. And if anything, I feel like sometimes people would understand it better because the way that I view things, it sounds bad saying it at face value, but like the way that I view things is very surface level, it's very entry level. But for the people that we would be consulting with, that's helpful because they don't know what it is we're talking about. If I'm talking with a professional, they might think, oh, this guy doesn't know much. Because like I'm just regurgitating information back at like a very surface level, form. But for somebody who doesn't understand it, that's going to be the best way that they're going to be able to interpret the information.
Mhm.
So it's really it was reassuring, and that's what like I got from the program, like the best takeaway from the program for sure, the self-efficacy.
Mm. For me, I would say the most valuable thing, and I feel like it's a skill that I've already had,
Mhm.
or I guess a bit. I'm not sure.
We'll just combine them.
We'll combine them. We'll
For the
combine them.
sake of the
For the sake of the question, we'll combine them. Is adaptability. I feel like I've already had this in my arsenal before the program, but the program just sharpened it
Mhm.
in a sense, and it's just like adaptability, not in the sense like, oh my god, any situation you throw my way, I'll make light of it, but in many facets of it. Like I would say adaptability is not just, oh my god, like you put me in the fire, I'll make it cooler. Like I'll find a way
Mhm.
to make things better for myself, but it's more of like a mindset. It taught me how to be more flexible with my mindset, just kind of like the the problems that came my way during the program, I was able to kind of like get them, understand it, adapt to them, and kind of like when I mean adapt is like kind of really understand where the problem is coming from, and as well as tailor an answer for it. Which I feel like it's very hard when you go out there in the field and you're a practitioner. It's very hard sometimes to forget to tailor things to clients, and it's just like, oh, it's worked for another client, and we just
Copy
maybe
paste.
just copy paste. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's just like, oh, it's already worked for this. It's a very similar concept.
Mhm.
Let me just not waste time, just give it to the client, boom,
Everything's unique.
done.
Yeah.
But it's like that might not work
Mhm.
for everybody. And it showed me in the same form of adaptability, not just to like make light of everything, is more of how to intake the knowledge coming my way and kind of find what are some points that need more
Focus.
yeah, that need a little bit more care and
Attention.
focus to try to get the result that maybe an employee would be looking for or that I'm looking for. You know, something that would make me be like, okay, this is a good result. And it's not in the sense of just terms of um like projects, but I would say like team efforts.
Mhm.
You know, it taught me like I was already adaptable person to like my friends and like my teams when I was in sports, but it's just like working with a team for with projects in the program, you kind of learn what your style is, as you were saying. You know, like what is your public speaking style? What are your strengths? But for me, not only was it that, but it was more
Working
what
around it.
working around my strength to bring out my teammates' strengths as well, or just covering for something that we were missing, just yeah, a lack thereof, or just stepping up. You know, like where like let's say for one thing I had to initiate a little bit more on ideas, fine. I did. But if there was one that ideas were being initiated, but I needed to focus more on the structuring of the ideas, I'd take a step back. I'd move towards the structure point. So I kind of spread myself, not thin, but to a certain point where my strengths were still measured and they were valued within the group.
Filling the gaps. Effective.
Yeah, filling the gaps. So I feel like, you know, it's very important, especially, you know, with having an adaptive mindset, because not only could you learn new information and implement it, but it's also the ability to recognize and be able to adapt new information and styles in crucial situations. You know, it could be the most important thing about adaptability is the transference of it all.
Mhm.
You know, how can you transfer A to B? You know, and going to that point, it really ties into critical thinking.
Mhm.
You know, you have the adaptability, but you also have critical thinking, and it helps you just kind of realize. Critical thinking helps you realize like when you need to be adaptable in certain situations. You know, it's like it helps you see the point,
Mhm.
and then we kind of go from there. All right, now let's go into question number 3, or topic number 3, as some may say. And that's going to be what we wish the program prepared us for, especially in this job market. Now, disclaimer, when we were in the program, the job market was not like this. And as well, all this stuff that we are saying now is after the program. We do feel like the program we were in was very adequate and very good and caring. It helped us develop. So this is just in a perfect cookie cutter world. Is that?
I think this is like with hindsight, looking back 2020, perfect scenario.
Yeah, in perfect scenario, perfect capita, everything.
Yeah.
All
to navigate this
as much time as needed. Yeah. So this has nothing to do with our program. Our program was a very good program. We're talking like perfect
Please don't take my
scenario.
degree.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Please don't. This is just in the sense of like in a perfect world
Yeah.
where we had amount of time, huge amount of time, and just
Mhm.
just to focus in on these things. And time was an issue.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start with John here.
Okay, so wait, we all agree that like the take is life after graduating and like to navigate the market, right?
It's that, but also I feel like I'm just gonna take it from here. So
Okay.
during the program, or not our program, but I felt like the program could have had. We did have one-on-one talks with our professors about how was the program, how are you fitting in, are there any things that we're struggling with, um, what are some career choices you're looking towards. But in that sense, I would like to add.
This is the Super IO mascot.
Yeah,
Everybody.
it's Belly.
She'll be here for the remainder of the episode.
This is adorable. Well, I would like to add. I would have preferred a more career guidance approach on my one-on-ones.
Mhm.
In that sense, I mean, um, it's okay. Yusuf is having trouble. It's okay, girl. In that sense, I mean a little bit more tailored approach for coaching, like coaching us through like where we want to go in the career. Maybe having like a little bit more talks about like, okay, if you want to go into consulting, I know there's external, internal, and stuff like that. Maybe look at these avenues. Um, or let's say if you want to go into the selection process, you want to look towards, I know a lot of companies in the market right now are looking towards Workday. So you maybe want to get familiar with it, get some experience on it, just kind of like shaping us towards what the job market would look like. And like I said, this is like a perfect
Dream.
scenario because nobody knew what the job market would look like when we got out of our degree. So this is no digs to the program. The program was perfect.
Yeah, it is perfect. I mean, even in a dream scenario, I still feel like sometimes I feel like it would still be too much to ask for because then at that point, they're professor, they're a career coach, and they're doing it for every single student in the program. But yeah,
It
perfect
takes
scenario.
it takes time.
Yeah, especially the tailoring and just all the process that would go behind it. I agree though. Like if we could have had that, that would
Oh
have
yeah,
that would have been
but
beautiful.
but it takes a lot of time
That's
to
what
tailor something like
it's
that.
literally
Yeah,
a job being a career coach. Like
yeah,
you were getting hit up by them. I didn't reply to them on LinkedIn, but you were getting hit up to
Yeah.
them on LinkedIn. So like people make a career out of it because that's how helpful it is.
yeah.
I agree 100%. That would be in a perfect scenario. That'd be great because I also wish going into the job market I had a better idea and
Of like what careers are out there, what
yeah,
paths
to
to
look
follow.
for. Like
Yeah,
when we would ask like what do we look for? They're like
how to stand out a little bit better.
yeah.
It's just some talks that weren't there, but they did give a lot of talks of what to look into, what to research.
Mhm.
So it's like, it was more of a at your own pace approach because time was of the essence. Like we didn't have all the time in the world,
didn't
and
have-
I understand that sense.
So my point is I wish that they would have taught me a little bit better on how to showcase my value to organizations because what I got a lot of the times when I was interviewing was people did not even know what IO psychology was. So it's not sometimes I still struggle to this day trying to explain to people who have no idea of what psychology is. They always just grab HR. I'm like it's not HR. It's different. It's a little similar, but it's more the processes behind HR. But people don't grab onto that. So like showcasing my value, especially in the short amount of time you have during interviews, was like extremely difficult because we understand what it is that we're capable of. I still come across this, like I was mentioning to you guys earlier, I still come across this all the time at work. When I mentioned that I'm familiar with a certain process, they're like, wow, we didn't know that you knew that much. And it's like, yeah, I've never done the job, right?
And
I've
I
never,
know of the job.
but not only do I know of the job, I know how to properly implement them, and two, like the guidelines in creating them. Like we know how a proper selection process should look like, the steps
Sa-
behind them.
Satisfaction surveys.
We know so much, but we never actually because it's so much theory that we cover in that year and a half, but we never get to put all of it into practice.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Like you forget about it sometimes. I definitely forget about things because we covered so much. So it's hard to like put all of my value just into one little pitch one in the interview. And I wish that they kind of would have I don't know if we needed like a semester on it, but like just like a crash course, like even on Lunch and Learn to kind of learn how to pitch yourself, learn how to showcase your value. But you get to kind of pick up those things on the way, like through socials and
I
stuff
think
like
there
that.
was a lunch and learn on how to pitch yourself. It was with Dane.
Looks like I didn't attend that one because I definitely struggled with showcasing my value in the beginning. But once you do a few interviews, it just becomes
I think it's something
it's a skill,
definitely to put in later on. Just emphasize all those,
especially for this market. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, especially for this market where everything, everybody's so hypercritical.
But if you think about these programs, a lot of these programs are planned maybe like 1 or 2 years before the program actually takes place. So not only that, it's like you're thinking like, okay, so the program was planned the year before the program even enrolls the people for that year that it's enrolling, and then after that they have a whole year and a half until they graduate. So you're talking like 2 years and a half. The market could change drastically in those 2 years and a half. So it's like it's hard to be able to
Build
like
around it. Yeah, but
build
it's
around it
skill.
once you got like a set thing. But like it's like you said, what you can do is just implement those little lunch and learns. But it's just kind of going as you go.
Yeah, but it's definitely a skill that I think for navigating this current market, that if we were able to hone it a little bit more during our time in the program, it would have been like
Definitely,
very helpful.
definitely, yeah.
And I definitely think that having applied work, like applied experience from the program itself, would have definitely been helpful afterwards. Because while we do have the job analysis that we did on the advising office and all the work we did behind it, it's still kind of labeled as theoretical.
Classwork.
Yeah, like classwork. Yeah. And so when you're going through these interviews and talking to them, you kind of have to reframe it in that way, because when they think of it as just classwork,
They don't value it.
yeah, it's not as valuable. They just go, oh, so all you have is theory. Is basically it.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of just goes back to like what I mentioned way earlier on, where it's like what you put into it is what you get out. Like, you're only gonna go as far as you go. Because similarly, like with our internships, like that's where we got our first chance to like prove ourselves.
Yeah.
But if you didn't go above and beyond in your internship and you didn't get extended, then you're kind of like I mentioned, like you're just in the ocean with no motor, no rows. You're just kind of like trying to figure it out. So like you got to do the best that you can with what you're given, so that when you're in the interview process, you're not just relying on theory. Like you have something to back up those words. So that's why like you guys saw me when I was doing my my internship at FIU. Like I'm pretty sure I stayed there an extra month to like go through on my promises on what I told them I was going to deliver. And just I was working at home, I was working nonstop, extra hours, like just to do what it is. Because like we have so little time in our program. If you don't make the most of it, you're gonna be kind of like screwed out there with the market. It's just the market's so rough.
Yeah.
And they can only do so much for us, like when it comes to applied work. But yeah, I agree. If we had like more projects where we actually would have been implementing things, like with the advising department, because I think that was
more experiential work.
That was the only one that we had, right? That was the only project that was actually applied. Everything else was pure.
Well, it was one long continuous project. It was the job analysis, and then it was the selection process.
Yeah.
And then,
but that ended in the second semester. And then from the second semester on, it was the research methods, pure theory.
No, but we did have this training. We created training modules. Oh, yes. But that one was theory. Yeah, that one was theory.
It was like on slide.
Yeah.
It's more, I feel like, if anything, the tests almost could have been like more geared in that way. Like when we had that one test when we were putting ourselves in like the mind of the consultant, and we had like gearing tests in that way that it's like practical one-to-one real life scenarios, as opposed to just speaking on theory and then talking like the talk. If they give us more chance to walk the walk in a sense, I feel like it'll help people. And I feel like that'll also help with the showcasing your values, because you get to practice.
Yeah.
You get more time for it to hone your skills and stuff. So, yeah, I definitely agree.
All right, so now we're gonna go to our final point. Unless we got some bonus at the end, we gotta find out. But it's gonna be navigating the current job market as early career IO psychology professionals. How is it? Is it bad? Is it good? Let's talk about it. Yusuf.
Kick us off.
It's not good, I'll tell you that, but
it's bad. Just say it's bad.
It's horrible. There. It's not just bad, it's horrible, but it's like John said, just getting to that interview is pretty bad
Mhm.
because you have to first of all get through all the who knows how many
Oh.
applicants that there are there.
You gotta
And
get through the
AI.
AI, yeah.
Through the AI.
Oh, yeah. That's
That's
the first goal.
first block.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But essentially just focus on like improving how to frame your work, improve how like the first thing they see is probably your LinkedIn page. I know John worked a lot
Yeah,
on his LinkedIn page to
I
like
did.
showcase it, but it's
I think
big.
Belly has something he
Yeah.
wants to say.
Think about something.
But
It's okay.
anything else, Willie? No.
It's okay, girl. It's okay.
Do you want to chime in, Carlos, or you want me to?
Jump in, jump in.
Okay. So the hardest thing, definitely, I mean, Yusuf mentioned getting the interview, but I think it's easy once we get into the interview process just because of like how
It's also staying consistent, though. I think that's also the second hardest thing. You get demotivated with these AIs just sniffing for keywords if they don't find the keywords they're looking for.
I guess, but I feel like for me, the way that I viewed it, because like I was really consistent for a long time. It was like almost a necessity. Like if you're not consistent, like I identified that pretty quickly, because if there was ever a little gap where I wasn't applying, that's when I stopped getting calls. You guys know how many calls I got, how many interviews. Like if you aren't consistent, you're never gonna find it because it's purely a numbers game.
Yeah.
If you're not applying, I tell them all the time, if you're not applying like 15, 20 times a day, you're not going to get calls back. I was applying that much and I was getting calls back. But for 15, 20 times a day, for me to only get one call back in 2 weeks or two callbacks in 2 weeks, that's, I mean, how many even is that? Like, the disparity is
Yeah.
huge.
I also think that like 3 to 5 quality applications, like tailoring your resume towards like the actual job you're applying to, because if you just blindly like kind of like there's some people out there that will blindly apply to whatever they see and like get maybe 100 applications in, but most of them are just gonna get filtered out because your resume is missing these key skills and words in it, so it's immediately gonna get filtered out.
I completely and totally disagree. Completely and totally disagree. I think if you have a solid resume to begin with and you've built it to be like almost all encompassing, it'll work. Because you have to identify. That's another thing for the job market right now. You gotta identify what it is exactly that you are like, what you're pursuing, and then tailor your resume to that, like, you know 2 to 3 different job categories, because that's what I did. Like that was the sweet spot for me. It was training, employee engagement, and like recruitment, and that's where I got like all my hits. It's like fishing, bro. It's literally like fishing. You got to figure out what bait they like.
That's the tailoring part.
That's the tail. No, you can tailor like an all-encompassing sort of thing. When I go fishing, you know what I buy? I buy shrimp. I buy live shrimp. I don't switch it out to get different fish, but I guarantee you'll get different fish with your live shrimp.
That's why we caught a rock.
Hey man, that's just us being bad fishermen. You just gotta tailor yourself for what it is that you're going for, and then it's purely numbers. It is purely numbers.
Yeah, but like not all human resources, like let's say roles, will have the same skill requirements. And so when they see your resume, it'll just some of it will ignore parts.
You're saying, like, for example, if there's like a training specialist role,
Yeah.
they probably, yeah, I've noticed this. There's a big disparity on like what each, even though it's the same role,
Yeah.
they're looking for many different things.
Yeah.
But I still, how I view this. Like I still heavily disagree
But
because my 2 jobs that like I got offers for, I didn't tailor my resume for, and it's not like I had exactly what they're looking for. It's more, you got to get that hit, and once you get that hit, you have to nail the interview. Getting that hit is really difficult. I totally agree.
That's the hardest part, I feel like.
And the easiest way, because I'm telling you, you can just think about it practically, like in life. You can pre-plan something for days, weeks, months, and then when it comes time to execute, you still like mess it up, or it still doesn't go the way that you pre-planned it. So planning is good. Plan an approach that like you can get as many out there as possible, so that you can get as many hits as possible. I agree. I'm not like disagreeing that it's not smart to like put thought into your resume,
and
but
to what you applied.
yeah, but don't overthink it for sure. Like, don't be picky. Don't be picky.
But
Like,
like, don't make a like a training specialist resume and then go into
yeah, I'm not applying for leadership
compensation
positions and stuff like that. Or yeah, but even then, you'll still get hits. Like, you'd be surprised. You'd really be surprised because some people can just, read what you've done. I know that the AI, that's a different story. That's like a beast in and of itself.
AI just goes,
Over going.
that's it.
I mean, there was times where like we would apply to the same position. I would get auto rejected, and you would get put through to the interview process. So like clearly, AI is like its own thing. I'm just talking about like with people,
Mm.
and especially like the interview process. But that's my 2 cents. Sorry.
It's a great 2 cents, John.
Sorry, I get really passionate. About
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I think another way to navigate the current job market, I would feel, is to. I feel it's hard to keep yourself motivated, especially if you're putting up numbers like John,
Well,
and you're getting like maybe like 1 to 2 interviews a month. But sometimes you're putting up John's numbers and you're not getting no interviews that month. So it's a little bit hard, but it's also important to figure out, even if you're not getting what you want in the opportunities that you're applying for, maybe start pivoting a little bit. It's okay to pivot. Like I pivoted towards data analytics certification. It's definitely something I didn't know I would be that interested in, but going through the process of the certification, I kind of realized this is something I'm interested in, because statistics does kind of come natural to me, and I do like data. I do like exploring data, analyzing data, measuring data, making inferences about data. So, in a sense, analyzing data.
yeah.
So
How many times was that said?
Data-rific. But let me just say, it's finding those little pivots, and it's like, yeah,
what we're doing right now.
yeah. This is
Huge
Super
pivot.
Bros is another pivot.
Pivot, yeah.
It was mostly an informational pivot, I think, from our standpoint, just to keep ourselves informed,
But also to
keep learning and growing. Yes, it's always important to grow,
put
but
yourself out there.
I feel like keeping the community that we have together helps us grow, stay informed, and just stay on top of like what's going on in that real world.
Yeah.
It's very difficult nowadays with all the information going out there. It's like, it's good to just kind of like come together with somebody, or some boys, and some bros, and just figure out like what is going on right now in the world. Maybe you don't have enough time in the day, just you're in the car, just like sit and listen. You don't have time to read everything. So I think it's us to just kind of like go through articles and just kind of figure it out for ourselves and for you guys.
Yeah, it's good to keep up, especially when you're in, that process. If you're not working like on the side, like I did it full time. I committed full time to the application process. And I think that's like a good reason why I found work relatively quickly. But, you still have to keep upskilling while you're in the process, because if not, then, you're gonna become like redundant in a sense.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna forget the information that you learned and you paid all this money for, and you're gonna fall behind those people who are continuing to learn, like Carlos getting his certification, or us upskilling and learning through reading these articles, creating a page,
How can you stay
sharp?
Yeah, how can you stay on top of your passion and just keep pushing forward? Because that's motivation in itself. As long as you can see a step forward, you're working towards something.
Exactly.
But it's difficult when you're applying to something, because it's mostly a waiting game. You're not in charge. You don't have control. So you have no steps forward until the step comes.
Yeah.
until that door opens, you have no steps forward.
Mhm.
So it's just, what can you do in the
In the
meantime?
meantime, yep.
Try to work on yourself a little bit better. Maybe
Mhm.
start some fitness. I know you started training for an Ironman, so it's like there's also many things, many ways to improve, whether it's a physical, mental, or it's just pivoting a career focused certification. Because with that, I mean, I'm open to more job opportunities and in a different sense of the field. You know, I think it's very important to sometimes pivot, although it's not always recommended. Kind of stick to your guns sometimes. John stuck to his guns. Look at him now,
Nice.
BHL specialist.
Nice, nice. There's just one last thing that I want to mention. I think the most important thing that I did during my time when I was looking for work that helped me stay motivated is that I constantly was like reflecting as I was going through the process. And I always knew that there was going to be like a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how demoralizing it is, putting up 100 applications in 1 week and getting no calls back for the next 2 weeks after those things. I always knew that, I am in control of what I can control, similarly to what Carlos is saying. And the moment that the time comes to get the phone call, I'm going to put forth all the effort that I've been like putting, like practicing what it is that I'm going to say, really reflecting and thinking about what it is that I want out of this career. Because once you know what it is that you want, they can see that, they can identify that, and they can see like, oh, this guy's meant for this. Like he really wants to be in this position. He will benefit from this. You might not have the relevant experience, but if they see that passion, if they see that spark, especially if it's like an entry level position, that's really all they're looking for. Someone who actually wants to do the job and can thrive in it. So just stay reflecting, keep it in the forefront of like your mind of like why it is that you're even applying for this. Like, is it just for money, or is it like something that you actually see yourself doing? Is it your career? Is this your passion? And just that's a way to keep yourself motivated, keep yourself pushing towards the end goal. Because if not, it's just like almost a loop of rejection, and it can get definitely very, very overwhelming for sure.
Now, I'm gonna get into a bonus question here.
All right,
This is from our
adaptability.
adaptability. So this is something me and John have answered before. I think we've done how many orientations we've done? Two. We've done two orientations. We always get this question, but I feel like, might as well share it onto here. And we've never gotten Yusuf's insight on this. So I think it's very interesting to get Yusuf's insight, a little taste, a little taster. That's the DLC pack right there. So the question is, what would what would you tell a new IO student starting their program this year, Yusuf?
What would I say?
Yeah, to somebody new that
Good
came
luck.
up to you, what are some tips or something you would tell them? I know we've kind of talked about tips throughout this conversation, but if you were to give them maybe like one advice.
That you might not like reading, but it's got to be done. I mean, reading is a big part of IO psychology, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and especially like if you're not someone who regularly reads, you're gonna struggle going into the program. I know we were given a lot of reading material. I know you didn't read anything.
Whoa. Allegedly.
It's all right. I'm self-projecting, but
Yeah.
you just gotta be on top of it and kind of
Learn how to read.
review what you've learned.
Learn how to read effectively.
Yeah.
That's what we always tell them. Efficiently.
I think I'm gonna steal what you're thinking right now.
Okay. You're gonna read my mind?
Yeah. It's coming. It's coming right here. You ready? Here it comes. Don't be afraid.
I know.
I feel like, don't be afraid to get out there, to put yourself out there, make an effort, is very important. As Yusuf said, it's very important to read, but it's also very important to put yourself out there and be confident in yourself and like what you're learning, in how you're learning it, because if you're not that confident in it, you don't trust in it, you don't believe in it, it'll be a little bit harder for you to talk about it. So just build that confidence in yourself and just be able to, yeah, self-efficacy. Wow, good term, buddy. But just be able to put yourself out there and put your best foot forward.
Piggybacking off yours, it's not the thing that I'm gonna say, but it's just because that was what I was gonna say, and I was gonna couple it with like being yourself. Don't be afraid to be yourself, because in the end of the day, like as a consultant, that's part of the job. You know, they're hiring you for your views, the way that you view these processes, and the ideas that you have. They want to see how you work. So be yourself. You know, be professional, obviously, but don't be afraid to be yourself. It helps build trust in others, in you, you know, when they see that you're being authentic with them. And especially in like almost like a customer facing role, because the clients are our customers, like that trust goes a long way. But another, so my thing to say to somebody going into, you know, the field now is that, nice one, Belly. Nice one, Belly. There's no one, I feel like everybody, us included when we were in the program, everybody wants like the map, the avenue, but there's no one size fits all when it comes to this field. And I think we've been hitting on that this whole time, like in everything that we've mentioned. And there's no one size fits all. You're not going to be able to mimic what somebody else did. Like we are not Lasante. We're not going to be able to get a job at Google just by getting our PhD and, you know, trying to copy what Lasante did, because Lasante's Lasante. He
Yeah.
knows his stuff better than anybody else. He,
He
you
takes
know,
pride in it,
yeah,
and he loves it. He's
great at it.
methodical in how he learns.
And if I tried to explain some information the way that Lasante explains his information, I would do a horrible job at it. But he's himself. He portrays his information in his own way. It's like a different way that I explain it, because like similarly to like what I was telling you guys earlier, I explain things on a very surface level, you know, sort of approach, which is really good for, you know, people who have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Lasante is having conversations with people who know a lot more than me, and, you know, can understand everything that it is that he's trying to portray to them. So don't try to just mimic somebody else's, you know, approach. Be yourself, figure out how you're going to get there, and good luck, pretty much. Like it's there's a lot of nuance to the field, and no matter how much we've spoken, I'm sure it's going to be difficult to apply it one to one. So you're going to figure out your own way, on your own time. And like what Carlos said, like don't be afraid to fail, put yourself out there, and yeah, just good luck. Good luck.
All right, that's a wrap for today's episode of the Super IO Bros. If today's episode hit home, share it with a classmate, share it with someone thinking about IO, or honestly, anyone trying to grow in their career. Until next time, stay curious, stay human, keep leveling up. Catch you in the next episode.